Good morning. It's a good week for people and a bad week for the oligarchs. Cheney, Mamdani, and now healthcare executives are Luigiing themselves in the Oval Office. They don't even need someone to pop them in the street. Welcome to DeProgram with Ted Rall and John Kiriakou. John, always good to see you.
Good to see you, Ted.
Happy Friday.
Indeed.
It is Friday, November 7th, 2025. Some housekeeping to take care of. Please like, follow, and share the show. We, as always, really appreciate your support. It's still a struggle here financially. We're moving in the right direction, but we always appreciate your donations. We're fully funded back on YouTube for those who missed that. We will, so we don't need the PayPal donations anymore, although we appreciate those of you who do them and did them. Also, you can still donate on Rumble. We are trying to, Robbie West, our producer, is going to come back and make things bigger and better for us a week from Monday. He resigned from his position where he got doxxed from, and he is coming where we're lifting him up where he belongs, if you know the reference. He's coming over to work here on DeProgram with us full time, which is going to be awesome, but we do need some help from you guys. So far, he has raised $570 of the $1,000 that we need on his GiveSendGo.com account. So if we'll stop asking at the end of every month, as soon as we reach $1,000 for Robbie. John and I are each kicking in another $250. We figure between $250 for each of us and the entire world, $1,000 is not asking too much. GiveSendGo.com/West Glacier Gaming is the URL if you want to see the show go on. And also fight backs against the doxers and tell them it's
Seriously.
Tell them to fuck off, that we don't need the, they don't have leverage. They can't fuck over Robbie or anyone else. So let's leave that there. Lots to talk about today. Today we're going to be talking about the Abraham Accords, which we've never really done a deep dive on the Abraham Accords.
Not really.
We should do that. Kazakhstan's the latest entry here. Big story of the day, I think, is the airlines. The delays are already piling up. Well over 1,000 cancellations as of airtime. 500 plus delays already as of 4 o'clock this morning. So today is going to be a nasty travel day. We'll tell you what's going on there and what to do if you're traveling. The suspicious package containing a mysterious white powder sickened some personnel at Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. We'll get into what seems to be a terror attack, I would say, of sorts, right? A terror mail attack. The sandwich guy is free.
He's free. There's the shock of the day that he was found not guilty by a jury of his peers. You remember, too, that that he was initially charged with a felony, but the Justice Department, the U.S. Attorney for the District of Columbia, couldn't get an indictment. They couldn't find a grand jury that would agree to indict him. And so they charged him with a misdemeanor. He pleaded not guilty. They were like a dog, on a bone. They wouldn't let it go. Yeah. And Ted, we said right here on the show, no jury in Washington, D.C. will ever find this guy guilty. And sure enough, they didn't.
Yeah, I mean, we should talk about, get that out of the way first, and just another thing to heads up, we will be talking about Venezuela. I'm a little more, perhaps I'm very worried about this Senate vote and what it portends.
I'm worried. Only 2 Republicans voted with Democrats to try to block Trump from attacking Venezuela.
It's bad.
2.
Let's talk about the sandwich guy. Get him out of the way. So, John, are there legal implications here? I mean, like literally by the way, I died laughing. So apparently among the arguments that the prosecution made was that the Subway sandwich had exploded all over the victim's uniform.
Well, the cop or the INS guy or whatever they're calling, ICE guy, said that he smelled strongly of spicy mustard. He said with a totally straight face in court, I smelled strongly of spicy mustard.
It's like, dude, you smelled delicious. And like, as far as I'm concerned, I might not have been able to resist licking his uniform. Not something I would normally do for a cop. And then The other thing was that he claimed, but he also did allow the fact in cross-examination that he had gotten lots of gag gifts from his colleagues, and that all of his friends and colleagues thought it was funny. And the jury seemed to be very interested in the fact that actually the sandwich did not disintegrate. It was still in its original wrapping, and that it had fallen to the floor. And so the narrative by the DA could not have been accurate because it didn't actually disintegrate. There was no lettuce particles.
No.
So
nothing. Nothing.
By the way,
this is outrageous.
I would say it's if you're the night manager at the at that subway facility, you have to give that clerk like a employee of the month for like a good wrapping job in that it didn't fall apart.
Seriously.
Yeah, but legal implications, no, I'm not going to say all kidding aside, because it's ridiculous.
It's ridiculous.
Except for the fact that this guy had to hire a lawyer and probably had to pay some money for, I don't think the ACLU took up his case. Is it now open season on ICE in the District of Columbia? Can you now throw food legally at an ICE officer? And there's now an established precedent?
I smile, but in all seriousness, the jury found this to be constitutionally protected free speech.
Mm-hmm.
So I think probably the answer to your question is yes. You can now legally throw a sandwich with spicy mustard on an immigration officer, and that is your constitutionally protected free speech.
This is the resistance starts here. Next time anybody goes to mix it up with ICE at a raid, you got to come armed with food. It's a food fight.
You've got to.
At least in the District of Columbia. This will not apply to other jurisdictions yet.
Right. Yet. That's right.
But it's
Hey, and before we get into our official stories for the day,
real news.
F you so I can't. Okay, I'm just going to say F you so.
Yeah.
Says Chris Matthews must be hiding under his bed now that New York City has gone commie, executions in Central Park, and that was one thing that I wanted to talk about. That I'm being bombarded with emails from right-wing friends of mine, like from childhood, from high school, saying things like they're circulating false press releases that Mamdani is mandating that all women wear a burqa in New York City, that the gays are in the streets in New York because he's going to begin executing gays. Because this is what the Muslims believe, right?
Yeah.
Okay, that's one thing. There was something else. Oh, yes, Ted, believe it or not, I actually have a source inside the Justice Department. And my source called me last night for a friendly conversation and said, hey, I thought you would be interested to hear that there are two separate grand juries investigating John Brennan right now, which would account for the nervousness that he showed in that video when he was poking the guy in the chest at George Mason University last week. But yesterday, subpoenas went out to CIA, former CIA colleagues of John Brennan's. They're serious about prosecuting John Brennan. He knows they're serious because his attorneys are telling him that they're serious. And that's why we saw that behavior last week. He believes he's in trouble. I believe also that he's in trouble.
I agree. Yeah.
Sorry, I wanted to get that out. And there's one crazy thing, Ted, and I apologize for wasting time, apropos of nothing. Couple of weeks ago, Project Veritas reached out to me, and they wanted to interview me about this document that they have. It's a top secret personality evaluation of a CIA applicant, and she tested at 98.7%. And they want to know, is this real? Is this really what they do? And I read this thing, and it was very well written. And I'm reading it, and I'm thinking, I know that name. So I Googled the woman's name. I didn't Google it. I put it in Finder, because it does everything all at once.
Yeah.
She's the wife of a guy that I know, like a guy that I consider to be a friend of mine. So not only was she a CIA applicant, she's currently a fugitive from justice because it says that she was impersonating an attorney, an immigration attorney, that she embezzled $700,000 from desperate would-be immigrants. She was arrested by the FBI in January and immediately vanished. I should add that she was born and raised in Brazil. So she's probably in Brazil, which, guess what, has no extradition treaty with the United States.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Now, these people
if I ever go on the lam, there are worse places to go.
Oh, listen, everybody in prison used to talk about this. Everybody had a plan to break out and run to Brazil. Everybody. I'm like, you guys, you have like 3 months left on your sentence. What the fuck are you talking about? You're going to break out. Yeah. They're going to come to my house and ring the doorbell any minute now. And now my head is spinning. I can't believe it. Sorry to waste that time.
So, I mean, I've got to ask this question. So for people who don't know, Project Veritas is famous for those sting operations where they have hidden cameras, kind of like a la 60 Minutes, where they expose liberals saying stupid shit. Did you worry that they might be trying to sting you?
Yeah, I did. Uh-huh. Yes. I mean, I don't know. I have nothing to say to them. It looks like a legit psychological evaluation that literally every single applicant to the CIA undergoes. Mm-hmm. I've read it twice now. It's undated, which is highly unusual. And it says that, she's very smart. She's kind of introverted. She scored 98.7% on such and such a test, 96.5 on some other test. She would be a terrific economic analyst. And then that's it.
Okay.
I don't know. And now she's a fugitive from justice. And now these people are coming over to my house. Oh my God. Why do I get myself into these things?
Because you never say no.
See, that's my problem. Yeah. That's exactly what my problem is. I never say no.
Well, I'm kind of like you. I don't get asked as much though. So
I'm going to go unlock my door. Give me literally 45 seconds.
Okay. All right. So I will answer in the meantime a question from USC XXX AROD 21. What do you think the end of the line will be for the GOP with Trump? This administration has killed foreign nationals and posted to social media. What's the breaking point? Well, USC, I've got to sort of quote my mom here. My mom always says that the question I'm answering, John, is up on top of the screen. Mm-hmm. I don't think the breaking point for an American president will ever be killing foreign nationals or killing anyone with dark skin. Unfortunately, the American political system doesn't seem to hold people accountable for that ever. I think Trump is probably going to just expire with old age. I mean, he's now 80, right?
Yeah.
And he's going to be, he's not in great shape. I think he's just going to retire, at the age of, he doesn't want us to think that. But I think on January 20th, 2029, he goes off to Mar-a-Lago and golfs his way to death. And I think that's it. I mean, I don't think there will be any accountability. I mean, you'd like to think there would be, but look at George W. Bush. He was a fucking madman, started 2 wars, killed over 1 million people. Nothing fucking happened. He's an eminence grise of the GOP now.
Mm-hmm. But let me ask you something. He is the eminence grise of the GOP, but when we have votes like we saw in the Senate yesterday, Ted, that's not Donald Trump's ideology. That's Marco Rubio's ideology we saw yesterday. So is he really the eminence grise?
Well, I mean, that's a good question. I think he doesn't have the gravitas that a true, he's not what Obama is in the Democratic Party, right? I mean,
right.
Obama's still a kingmaker, or at least a king vetoer, if he wants to be. That's not who Bush is, and I don't think Bush wants to be, really. Trump has such a lock on the GOP at this point. Look, I do think they kind of have the GOP has the same problem that Cuba had under Fidel Castro before he appointed Raul as his successor, where nobody knew what the fuck is going to happen to Cuba once Castro dies.
Yeah.
There's no heir. Castro belatedly finally got around to it, or maybe he always had a plan. And obviously Cuba goes on. But right now, it's like if Trump has a plan, I don't think, it looks like J.D. Vance, and I don't think J.D. Vance is really very likely to stick. John, Nicholas.
I totally agree.
Nicholas Francos, thank you, has a question for us. Have we seen the news that the United States is planning to establish a military base in Damascus?
Well, yesterday, the United Nations Security Council lifted all sanctions against this new Syrian president. So that does not surprise me one iota. I think actually that's the whole plan. Listen, this is not for me. It's for somebody out there, but there's a book in this. There's a book in this because I believe very strongly that this was a long-term CIA operation to place this guy as president of Syria. My guess is that he was probably a paid CIA asset. I really believe it. Yeah.
Can you explain the difference between an asset and an agent?
Sure. Well, it's the same thing. An asset and an agent are the same thing. The agent is the person that the CIA officer recruits. I used to say, or I still say, Jim Pavitt, my former.
Because people think that the agent is like you were an agent.
No, I was not an agent. Thank God. I was an officer. So I recruited agents. Mm-hmm. It's the opposite of.
People don't know.
Of what it's counterintuitive is what I mean.
Well, because it's an FBI agent, right?
Yeah, exactly. Agent or special agent or no. But listen, this is just an educated guess. I have no evidence for this whatsoever, but I think they recruited this guy early on, probably when he was with ISIS. His name is Ahmed Ashara. Mm-hmm. Probably when he was with ISIS.
Or do you think this might have been earlier, like in the al-Nusra Front days, the Free Syrian Army, as they supposedly called it?
Probably. That's probably where they came into contact with him.
Like in 2011, 2012.
And he was willing to play the game and take money. And again, I'm guessing. And he said, listen, I control X number of men. And they said, hey, how about if we try to arrange it so that you maybe become the president of Syria? Presidents of the United States do not say on a lark while they're overseas, oh, by the way, I'm lifting all sanctions against Syria effective immediately. That's never happened in American history, ever. You don't send the Assistant Secretary of State, Barbara Leaf, dear friend of mine, to Syria to meet with the terrorist leader and then release the information to the media. It's not done unless the fix was in.
Oh, the fix definitely seemed
in. It had to be in.
Who would have ever thought that? Assad seemed pretty popular. I mean, it's the fact that they just slid him out of there yesterday's news.
Or not unpopular enough to
I guess that's my point.
Yeah, to fall apart over the course of a week.
It's not someone like Islam Karimov in Uzbekistan who was despised by every single person there.
Exactly right.
Question for you, John, from Foy6624. I'm going to use the French pronunciation. Can you talk about intelligence in Brazil? Does the CIA spy a lot in Brazil? Did you ever have contact with the Brazilian intelligence agency?
The answer to the first part of the question is I don't know. And the second is I never encountered a Brazilian intelligence officer. I was so far removed from Latin America that I just never. In fact, that's why when I got married the second time, my second wife, of course, was at the time a current CIA officer. We decided to go somewhere where we had never been, where we had nothing to do with the politics or with intelligence or anything else. So I remember sitting there looking at a map of the world when we were engaged, like, where do you want to go on our honeymoon? We're looking at this map. And I said, nowhere in the Middle East and nowhere in Europe, because we've been to every European country and every Middle Eastern country almost. And I said, what about East Asia? We'll go to maybe Thailand or something. She said, no, I don't really have any interest in East Asia. And I said, actually, neither do I. And then we just ended up deciding on South America. So we went to Argentina, Brazil, Paraguay, Uruguay, Chile, and then for a week we took a steamer ship to Antarctica.
Those all sound awesome. How was it?
They were awesome. I can't wait to go back. I mean, I've been saying that for 25 years. But yeah, that was like the best vacation a person could ever have.
I'm curious about the Galapagos too. Question for you, John, again from Ray. What's the relationship between the Global Strategies Group and the CIA? Heard that the agency is a client.
Yeah.
And thanks for the $2, by the way.
Thank you. I've heard the same thing. I've heard that there's a very close official working relationship with Global Strategies Group. Yeah. You know, I've been out of the CIA for a long time. I've been out for, it's 20 years this year. And a lot of things change. But one thing that was sort of on a, what's the word? What's the word I want to use? Anyway, it was the path on which things were moving, was that they were outsourcing more and more and more post 9/11. And so it makes sense that rather than reinvent the wheel, they just hire all these contractors to do the heavy lifting for them.
Gotcha. John, what do you make of this situation at Joint Base Andrews?
Yeah.
A package arrived, mysterious white powder. We've heard these stories before, mysterious white powder. Sometimes, more often than there was the anthrax scare after 9/11, a bunch of them, right?
And nobody was ever prosecuted.
Right. So we still don't really know who that was.
There was one doctor who was arrested. He swore he was innocent, and then he committed suicide. Yeah, he was innocent. And then he committed suicide, but nobody was ever prosecuted. Now, here's a case where somebody sends a package to Andrews Air Force Base, and it's got white powder in it, and it sickens 7 people last night.
That's serious.
That's serious. Now, that's happened in the past, and the white powder turned out to be flour, or in one case, it turned out to be pancake mix. And
How could that sicken people?
Because it was hysteria. Everybody
really. So, do you think it's sort of like like you and I both are on the same page about Havana syndrome,
right?
Do you think it's hysteria?
I don't know. I mean, you're not supposed to be able to send something directly to a military base. It's supposed to go to some offsite facility where they have detecting machines to see if it's anthrax or fentanyl or whatever.
Do they open ever? I mean, their military bases must receive thousands of pieces of mail,
they don't open anything off site. For the House, the Senate, and the White House, they open everything off site, like far off site, like 20 something miles off site in Greenbelt, Maryland. But for bases like this, no, they don't open them, but they do.
How could they determine from? I mean, could a scan catch anything if it was, wrapped in aluminum foil or whatever? Sure,
just like a drug dog. Sure. Yeah, you just need like one molecule in the air.
But can't like drug dogs be like, these are old Frederick Forsyth books, right? But like wrapping the drugs in like coffee and stuff like that doesn't do the job.
Listen, I'm a faithful viewer of Dragnet, and I know that Joe Friday invented the drug dog in 1969. I know that because he said so. But anyway, no, that's all been tried. You wrap it in coffee, you put it in plastic bags, and then put the bags inside containers of ammonia, for example, and the drug dogs can still sniff it out. It's the craziest thing.
That's nuts. Well, the dogs can sniff out cancer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's
sniff
crazy.
Out cancer. It's pretty impressive.
So what do you think we're going to find out here? That it was flour? Because that's usually what turns out to be the case.
I hope it was flour, because this would be really bad. Although, Ted, I hate to be wishy-washy, but sometimes things like this happen. When Bill Clinton came to Greece in 1999, when I was there, and I've talked about his trip to Greece, he's on the tarmac. He and Hillary are waving, right? Blowing kisses at everybody. They climb up the steps into Air Force One. The phone rings on Air Force One as the president is getting on board. One of the hangers-on answers the phone. It's a bomb threat on Air Force One. What? Somebody had the phone number for the private classified phone on Air Force One and called in a bomb threat. So crazy things happen. People have access they can get around security. You just never know.
Thanks for the donation over the $5 over on YouTube, 737-1 Mojo Ryson. John, have you ever spoken with your publisher about another printing of Reluctant Spy? I'd like to read it, but it's hundreds of dollars on
hundreds of how in the world that is possible? I have no idea. Yes, I reached out through my former literary agent and I asked her to get in touch with Random House because listen, not a single day goes by that somebody doesn't ask me, why isn't the Reluctant Spy still out there? So yeah, working on it. And Nick Braccia, thank you.
You can
Nick.
always self-publish it.
Yeah.
You know, if it's out of print, the rights belong to you.
Yeah, the rights revert to me. Nick Braccia, thank you for the $10. And Sodan Selwyn, thank you for the $20. The first question is, my friend and former roommate was the late journalist Michael Hastings. God bless. Number one, John, did you know him? And number two, what did you think of his work, specifically the McChrystal piece and the book? He was a giant. I had never met him, but I have a good friend who's a journalist who worked closely with him. She has doggedly pursued the storyline that John Brennan had something to do with his death through a remote takeover of the car. I thought Michael Hastings was going to be, you know, he was headed to greatness in investigative journalism. The guy was a giant, and the country's a lesser place without him in it. John and Ted, what do you think of this administration's handling of Africa's heavy China and Russian influence? Is it getting better or worse? And your thoughts? Ibrahim Traore. Oh, okay. Yes.
Worse.
Yeah, worse. Agreed.
They don't know what the fuck they're doing.
No, I mean, they're winging it.
There's a massive power vacuum that's been opened by the French in the Sahel. That the Americans could have walked in there with some money and bought some goodwill or rented some. Nothing. I mean, we just don't learn. We don't know how to do this. The Chinese are eating our lunch.
Yeah. Yeah. Agreed.
John, we have a big question. This one, College 51. Thanks for the £5. John, do you think that your whistleblowing had the desired effect in the government? It was very weird that people didn't react much to the Snowden thing. Also, Michael Gardner, thanks for the $1.99.
It was very disappointing that people didn't much react to the Snowden thing. You know, Snowden, I see Snowden as a plane above anything I ever did. Just because what he revealed had a direct impact on all of us, right? The government is spying on all of us. But so many people whose opinions I respect consider him to be a leaker, not a whistleblower, and thus a criminal, that I don't know. Am I missing something?
Well, I think it depends on what you prioritize. I mean, do you prioritize the need of the government to keep secrets, which obviously the government has a need to keep some secrets, not nearly as many as they do. Or do you prioritize the American people's right to know, or more to the point, the American people's right not to have the fucking law brazenly broken against them every single day?
Yeah.
I mean, that's the issue here. I mean, it's like, this is about law breaking. It's not just about spying on the American people. They're not allowed to do what they're doing, and they're doing it anyway. And that thread gets lost all the time.
So true. Yeah, you're exactly right.
We have this is a good segue for our Kazakhstan story, Central Asia. Ben Ross 6400, thanks for the $5. What can we say about the new Aga Khan? Did you know about the last one?
You know, my mom liked the Aga Khan, the last Aga Khan, and I never understood this. My mom was not one to really think through these issues, but she would say, well, he's so generous with his money. He gives away all of his money to these humanitarian causes. And then I remember thinking, where did he get the money in the first place?
Well, there's that.
On the backs of his people. If he's supposed to be a religious leader, I mean, why does he have billions and billions of dollars? But in the end, everybody who knew the guy said he was a great guy and he gave away so much money. So I don't know. I did note that there was a new Aga Khan named, but I apologize that my understanding of the situation doesn't go beyond that.
Yeah. So for people who don't know who the Aga Khan is, he's the head of the Ishmael. I'm probably mispronouncing that, John. You please fix that for me. Branch of Islam, and he throws a lot of money throughout the Muslim world, but particularly in Central Asia. Central Asia University in southern Tajikistan is one of his big projects, and it's very impressive. When you go, you're in the ass end of the former Soviet Union. Right there by the border with Afghanistan. And these are people who would never have a shot at a high quality, post-secondary education.
Absolutely.
And there it is. And if it wasn't for him or for his foundation, that shit would not have happened.
That is true. See, that's the thing. But then, he lived in a $25 million condo in Geneva. And drove Rolls Royces everywhere. And
that's how I feel. It's how I feel about the Dalai Lama. While we're at it, it's like I don't have a lot of respect for him. I'm like, if you really think you're going to be reincarnated every time you get killed, what are you so fucking afraid of? Mm-hmm. Go back to China. You're like whack-a-mole. Oh, you killed me. Yes. I'm back. Kill me again. Back.
It's true.
Anyway,
it's true.
No, I mean, it's just like what a pile of shit, oh, I happen to just like really nice watches. Yeah. Okay. So do I. Fuck you. Go be with your people. I don't believe for 1 minute that if he pulled a Kino and just showed up at the airport in Kashur or Uramuchi or down there in Lhasa, that anything would happen. It's not like they're going to gun him down on the tarmac. It's just not going to happen. But whatever.
And I remember hearing one thing. Ted, tell me if this is just nuts. But I heard that followers of the Aga Khan, just ceremonially, when they were getting married, they had to offer their brides first to the Aga Khan to deflower. Before they could, I don't know if that's true or not, but I have read that.
That could be, that could be libel, right? I mean, it's sort of like there's always this sort of tendency to libel people like that, like Marie Antoinette never said let them eat cake. That didn't happen. Yes, and if she had, no one would have known because she didn't speak French. And she was in French court. John, we've got an ad. Let's go ahead.
Sounds good.
And read that. Don't eat breakfast until you learn about caloric bypass. Your breakfast is setting you up for the entire day to either gain weight or lose it. The term breakfast literally means to break your fast that you started the night before. About 4 hours after you eat dinner, your body switches from the nutrients we get from food to the stored glycogen we have in our bodies. Once glycogen stores are depleted, typically after 8 to 12 hours of fasting, the body shifts to burning fat for energy. Fatty acids are released from fat stores where they are converted to ketone bodies through a process called ketogenesis. Then, this is the most educational ad I've ever read. Then, when you eat breakfast in the morning, the body starts the cycle again. This is where the caloric bypass comes into play. Dr. Gundry, a heart surgeon in California, learned that if you break your nightly fast with something called MCTs or medium chain triglycerides, you can actually keep burning fat throughout the day and use it for energy. But there are specific types of foods that contain these MCTs. Using this breakfast breakthrough, he was able to lose 70 pounds just through diet. I hope he didn't weigh 80 when he started. And he did this in his 60s. Start the QR code or scan the QR code or click the link in the chat to watch Dr. Gundry's eye-opening presentation. It could change the way you think about fruit forever. That's actually sounds pretty
good. Yeah, that sounds pretty good. I like it.
All right, so since we're talking about the Aga Khan and he has a Central Asia connection, let's talk about Kazakhstan. Kazakhstan always had close relations with Israel. I think they've normalized relations 30 years ago, which pretty much means like after independence from the Soviet Union. Kazakhstan is being portrayed as this big Muslim country, and technically, certainly Muslims live there.
Yeah.
But it's not Muslim in like the way like Oman is Muslim, right? I mean, it's a secular Muslim state. It's very, I would say, kind of like Turkey, sort of. Maybe less so.
Turkey of the 1980s.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Pre-Erdogan, certainly.
Yes.
And so, basically it seems like, I think my take on this is that Donald Trump is desperate for a win to renormalize Israel's status in the world. And that Central Asian republics are always desperate to be paid attention to because everyone ignores them diplomatically. No one gives a shit about them except
exactly
Russia.
Right.
And China. But even then, they're kind of like a secondary priority. So anyway, they signed up for the Abraham Accords. Trump says it's the first of many. I call bullshit on that unless he has another one or two Central Asian republics. What do you think?
Maybe, possibly, but the only one that anybody cares about at this point is Saudi Arabia. Everybody else that's going to jump in has jumped in. But who cares if Sudan recognizes Israel or Tunisia or Morocco? And Morocco only did it because then the United States recognized Moroccan hegemony over the Western Sahara. So I don't know. I will say, Ted, I was a little bit surprised to learn that Kazakhstan didn't have relations with Israel because Kazakhstan was a Soviet republic. The Soviet Union had long-standing diplomatic ties to Israel. Mm-hmm. I just assumed that they inherited that relationship.
Well, I think they did, but you know how things went tits up in 91. And the Central Asian republics, they got expelled from the Soviet Union, right? It wasn't like they were like, fuck you, like Latvia. We can't wait to be free. We chafe under the Soviet yoke. So I think things, I don't know about you. I was there a lot during the 90s, and it was chaos. The Tajiks still had a Soviet plenary into like the mid 90s. When I was there in 2001 and I crossed the border from Tajikistan across the Pianj to Afghanistan, they still had the Russian 201st militarized detachment guarding the border. And they all wore Soviet uniforms, and they were still flying the Soviet flag, not the Russian flag. It was like you were in the Soviet Union. They in Turkmenistan, as late as 1999, people still had Soviet passports. The Turkmen hadn't printed any. Things were. I think it's hard to overstate just how chaotic it was.
I remember when I first moved to Bahrain in 1994. I was the economic officer at the American Embassy. I got into a conversation with the director of economic affairs at the foreign ministry. I don't even know why this has stuck in my mind, but we got onto the topic of printing money. And he said, we print all of our money in Switzerland. Mm. And I said, that's interesting. We have the Bureau of Engraving and Printing, and we just print all of our own money. And he said, yeah, but you guys are like the only ones who do that. Everybody else goes to Switzerland. And I said, why? And he said, because the Swiss control that very high quality paper that you can't get anywhere else in the world, like the security paper. Yeah. So everybody just prints their money in Switzerland. He said, except these new countries in Central Asia. And I said, what do they do? And he said, nobody knows what the heck they do. I remember he said, I don't think they know what to do.
I know what they
expect to be a country.
They print their money in Russia.
They must.
They do. And it's like, in fact, when I crossed the border from China into Kazakhstan in 1997, bear in mind, 6 years after independence, they literally had never seen an American passport before, and at the border, and they were really confused. So they made me cool my heels, and they faxed a copy of it to Moscow. And I was like, aren't you an independent country now? Oh. And they were like, well, the Russians, our Russian brothers will know, whether this is legit or not. So
yeah. Hey, we've got a thank you, Mustang Renegades, for $10. What's your take on CIA Officer Bob Baer working with the Holbrooks and their media operation in Telluride, Colorado? I think this is bad. The Holbrooks, listen, we can all wax philosophical about the career of Richard Holbrooke, who wanted more than anything in life to be Secretary of State and never quite got there. But the Holbrooks and the Clintons, by extension, did some really bad shit out there. in Colorado. Bob Baer, I knew Bob Baer when I was at the CIA, of course. And then when my first book came out, Bob wrote a blurb for me, which I'm grateful for. But this is bad. I think that there's actually a story behind it. It's far too detailed and long to say, but the Holbrooks, the Clintons, and even Bob Baer were involved with these mining companies, and they're just gonna strip mine Colorado and befoul the environment and do all kinds of terrible stuff.
Lovely.
Yeah, it's bad.
Thank you, Lemon Curd One Sandwich, for the comment. We need to see your cartoons of the week. You guys can watch DMZ America, which the latest one came out yesterday, and Scott Stantis and I, and we interviewed Chip Bach, the conservative editorial cartoonist formerly for the Akron Beacon Journal, and we show our cartoons there.
Excellent.
All right, we got stuff to cover here. Let's probably. So, anything more to say about Kazakhstan? By the way, Kazakhstan is a country we should pay more attention to.
Absolutely.
They have all the oil from the Caspian Sea oil rush.
All of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's like, by some accounts, they have more oil in at least unproven reserve. There's what is it? There's proven reserves, and then there's believed reserves. That's not the right word. Unproven reserves. But basically, geologists guesstimate how much they think there is. And then it's basically kind of like civil court versus criminal court standard of proof. And proven reserves mean they're 90% sure. But at the 50% standard, it's believed that they have a lot more than the Saudis have. I mean, It's a total game changer for the world. And, it's funny to me that, Donald Trump, who likes to be hip to everything, doesn't seem to pay attention to this. I mean, Almaty, which is the former capital in southern Kazakhstan, is a oil boom town. When first time I went there, the average income was $20 a month.
Oh my God.
Abject poverty. They couldn't literally the lights weren't on at night. They couldn't keep the traffic signals on, so people were always hitting each other at the intersections. The State Art Museum was selling off its work in the streets for $0.25 each.
Are you kidding me?
Oh, totally. Yeah. No, I have some really cool. I picked up a couple of really cool socialist realist paintings. My favorite one is called. It's from the 1950s, a Soviet painting that says, and I got to get it framed right because I had to cut it out of the frame to move it. But it said, "He has been criticized," and it's a Soviet family. And he's reading, it's a factory worker, and he's reading about his poor performance in the newspaper. And outside, you see the factory where he works through the window. And then there's his wife looking at him with great disappointment. And the best thing is the dog is looking at him with great disappointment too.
One of the most wonderful things that I've ever found on my travels around the world, and I'm so glad I bought it, is I have a Soviet Academy Award.
Oh, wow.
And I didn't know what it was when I bought it. It's on a beautiful black marble base, and it's a man and a woman, Soviet realist style, looking up like this. And the man's holding a sickle, the woman's holding a hammer.
Oh, I got to have that.
So I bought it. I brought it back.
Of course.
And I liked it just as a Soviet realist sculpture. And then I was taking a tour of Francis Ford Coppola's vineyard. And he's got a little museum to himself. Like, he's got the Marlon Brando's desk from The Godfather's there. And all of his Oscars are on display. And he's got one of these awards. So fast forward to 2017. I won the Penn First Amendment Award, and he won the Penn Lifetime Achievement Award. So we're standing there talking, and I said, "Hey, I got to ask you this award that I saw in your museum," and I described it. And he said, "Oh yeah, that's a Soviet Academy Award. I won it for The Godfather." And I said, "I found one in an antique shop in Bulgaria, and I bought it. It was it was unawarded. It was unassigned. So it doesn't have the plaque on it.
You should award it to yourself.
I know, right? I love it.
Get someone who can engrave in Cyrillic. There's got to be someone in the greater DC metro area who can do that.
Hero of the revolution.
Awesome.
I love it.
That is great. Frasmataz has a good question for us. Have we ever considered that Snowden's leak was very bad for the NSA, but very good for the CIA, which he left 3 years before? Vault 7 was also bad for the NSA, but CIA bragging.
I agree with both of those points. It's odd. The CIA, it appears that the CIA has some kind of parallel tech something with NSA. Time was when the CIA's Directorate of Science and Technology did stuff like disguises, wigs, little wires that I could, put under my shirt and walk into a meeting and record the meeting. Now they're doing, Vault 7 stuff.
Do you want to explain what Vault 7 is?
Yeah, Vault 7 was a series of revelations made allegedly, by Joshua Schulte, who was a CIA software engineer. The CIA says he was a disgruntled employee who then leaked all of these revelations to WikiLeaks, which published them in 2017, the crown jewels of CIA/NSA. And it taught us things like with Michael Hastings, that the CIA can remotely take over control of your car and force you to, drive off a bridge or drive into a tree or whatever. That the CIA can hack into other countries' systems and then leave little nuggets of information, but written in, Cyrillic or written in Farsi to make it look like Russians did it, the Iranians did it, the North Koreans did it. Things like they can turn the speaker of your smart TV into a microphone. So even with the TV being off, they can still listen to everything that's taking place in the room where the TV happens to be. We didn't know any of that stuff until 2017, when Joshua Schulte told us through WikiLeaks. Unfortunately, Joshua Schulte made the catastrophic mistake of representing himself in his trial. He was convicted on all counts, all espionage charges, and he got 40 years in a maximum security penitentiary. So I think Frasmataz is making an important point here, that the CIA never did this kind of thing 10 years earlier. So why are they doing it now? Why are they in parallel with NSA, or why are they in competition with NSA? In the end, I agree that it was NSA that was embarrassed by Schulte and by Ed Snowden. The CIA doesn't appear to have been knocked off the rails in any way.
Although I don't know if the NSA has been knocked off the rails.
No,
either,
well, that's true too.
Sadly. Vienna 1998, thank you very much for the $5. Hey, John, hello from Vienna, Austria. Thanks for the show.
I love
Can you
Vienna.
maybe explain why Andrew Bustamante is not quote unquote legit, or did I get this wrong?
Okay, I'm just going to come out and say it. Andrew Bustamante, in my personal view, is a fraud. Andrew Bustamante was never, in capital letters, he was never a CIA case officer, never an operations officer. He was called, for most of his career, most of his 7-year-long career, he was called a SOO, a special operations officer. So what's a special operations officer? That's my assistant. That's the guy where I say, Andrew, I'm too busy working this operation. Do my accounting paperwork for me. Or Andrew, I'm going out on a high threat meeting tonight. Put together a security team to protect me. That's what Andrew did. And then he left that and became a targeting analyst, not an operations officer. But then he'll go on podcasts like Danny Jones and and Julian Dorey, and they will say things like, Andrew Bustamante, he walked the walk. No, actually, he didn't walk the walk. He made it all up. And if he was so great at the CIA, why did he quit after 7 years and just go into business with himself and grow, a sideshow bob hair to make himself stand out on the internet? Another beef that I have with Andrew Bustamante is that he just came out with a new book in which he claims that he and his wife captured a mole, a foreign intelligence agent embedded in the CIA. Listen, newsflash, there's an entire directorate at the CIA called counterintelligence. And their job, like all 250 of them, is to make sure there are no moles at the CIA. What Andrew would have us believe is they were perplexed. We may have a mole. None of our 250 people are qualified to hunt this mole. So we should ask this obscure analyst and his wife if they can come in and they can find the mole. And then they did. And so Andrew's a big hero. But beyond that, I think if there had been a foreign intelligence service running a mole inside the CIA, that maybe, just maybe, we would have heard about it in the Washington Post or the New York Times. So I don't know what the fuck he's talking about. I will say also that what little training he had, because like I say, he was only 7 years into his career when he resigned. What little training he had, he has tried to duplicate and to sell as services. He runs this website where you can sign up for surveillance training or red team training or, special thinking outside the box training.
Maybe we should invite him. We should invite him on the show. He can come defend himself.
Yeah.
Andrew, come on over. We'll, you're welcome.
I debated Andrew. I debated Andrew on the Danny Jones podcast. And when I got home that night, Alan Dershowitz called me, of all people. And he said, "You gave that kid a master class in the Constitution." I said, "Thank you." It's the only time Alan Dershowitz has ever called me.
It's a good comment. Hey, we've got some comments we got to talk about.
Okay, yeah.
2 topics to get through in the next 5 minutes.
You got it.
All right. This is a comment from yesterday. You can't beat someone with no one. Forget about the right or the left. I want a roof over my head, food on the table, safe streets, and a good paying job. That was about the Mamdani thing. Michael Thicks, 41. Ted, as a communist, do you reckon AI will be able to shoulder the burden of a centrally planned economy? Well, it could. It could. I mean, that's the whole thing. Under capitalism, all the benefits of increased productivity from new technology always devolves to the owner class as opposed to the workers. Alexander Leutches says Robbie should move into some fort too. There are probably droves of radicals who want to Charlie Kirk him. Okay. Anyway, I don't know what that's all about. Anyway, thanks for those comments yesterday. Those were in the sort of comment thread as opposed to the live chat. Phil chats. Anything new with Mexico? It's been quiet lately, and then we got to talk about the FAA.
Yeah. I'll tell you what. I'm gonna fly. I'm scheduled to fly.
I was gonna say. This is like it's like when I flew on Air Turkmenistan. They sold twice as many tickets as there were seats. And when you got on board, there were no assigned seating. There were fist fights over the seats. And I remember turning to I'm a pretty big guy. It's like, I got to sit. But like, there were all this silent fighting and punching. I remember turning to my friend Alan, who now is at the New York Times. And I said, I really miss Delta with like,
Yeah.
Anyway, and I was like, on Air Turkmenistan, you don't buy a ticket, you buy a chance at a ticket. That's how it's going to be now for you, John. You don't have a ticket to fly. You have a chance to fly.
A chance to fly. I am expecting to go see my son in Cincinnati on Tuesday. And
you're lucky. I love Cincinnati.
I actually do too.
It's the New Orleans of Ohio.
It is. My daughter goes to the University of Cincinnati, and my son goes to Miami of Ohio, which is just 35 or 40 minutes north.
Beautiful. Oh my God, in the fall, the most beautiful campus.
And I'm going to take my telescope because it's really, really dark there. But you know, the newspapers yesterday and the day before and this morning, there was more detail. Makes me think there's no chance that flight is gonna take off. There's no chance.
I agree, because I mean, look, let's be serious here. Is the shutdown over next week? I predict November 15th, but not next week. So by next week, the entire system is going to be collapsing.
Mm-hmm. Agreed.
By the way, I just bought a ticket for my son, and it was like for later. The prices have fallen through the floor on future airline travel. So if you want to buy tickets, get them now because they're cheap. Yeah, nobody's flying. The algorithms are all based on supply and demand. Everyone's out of here. So I mean, what a fucking way to run a country. Venezuela. I mean, I guess we're gonna have to talk about this Monday.
Yeah.
But the Senate punted on war powers. I would say
only Murkowski of Alaska and Rand Paul of Kentucky voted to not invade Venezuela.
And Susan Collins, as usual, waffled her. And I might. And then,
I can't stand her. I hope they throw her ass out.
I hate Murkowski too, though. She did the right thing this one time.
Yeah.
Rand Paul's the only decent one.
Yeah, but sure.
He and also he's fighting the valiant fight against his neighbors.
Yeah, like literally physically fighting the fight against his neighbors. Although his neighbor won. His neighbor beat the shit out of him and hospitalized him.
That is true. Oh my God. So please help. All right. Housekeeping. Please help with Robbie Aid. Go to givesendgo.com/West Glacier Gaming. We have $580 raised. We need $420 more. All you potheads can take that as a message over the weekend. We're here Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Eastern time. We'll be back Monday at 9 o'clock Eastern time. We have to do Venezuela and do it correctly. We didn't get to it today. Thanks for all your questions, your comments, etc. We will, as always, check those out. Please stay tuned for the TMI show with me and Manila Chan coming up right in a minute, right at 10 o'clock Eastern time. That's also Monday through Friday. And we will talk to you later, John. Always have a great weekend.
Have a great weekend.
And see you Monday. Bye.
Bye-bye.